Good evening, and welcome to all for this inaugural reading with Louisiana's newest Poet Laureate, Lisa Saloy. My name is Miranda Restovich, and I have the honor of serving as the Executive Director of the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities. The Louisiana Poet Laureate position was established in 1942. So next year will mark 80 years of this very important tradition in uplifting our rich literary heritage. Past Louisiana Poet Laureates include, among others, Pinky Gordon Lane, Emma Wilson Emery, who was our first Poet Laureate, Daryl Borg, Brenda Marie Osby, Peter Cooley, Ava Lavelle Heyman, Julie Kane, Jack Bedell, and the outgoing Poet Laureate, John Warner Smith. We want to thank them and recognize them for their service. Since 2002, under the state law, the LEH has been charged with overseeing the Poet Laureate nomination process. The duty of the LEH is to solicit nominations and convene a selection committee and support the incoming Poet Laureate with programming funds that make possible by the National Endowment for the Humanities and the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities. Now, this year's nomination panel included past Poets Laureate Smith, Bedell, Bork, and Heyman, LSU press director and publisher of the Southern Review, Alyssa Plant, and past Louisiana Writer of the Year, Cheryl St. Germain, and a few LEH representatives. We want to thank them for their time lovingly committed to this task and for their thoughtful deliberations in supporting the process, which ultimately lands at the governor's desk. We also want to take this moment to thank Louisiana Governor John Bell Edwards for his leadership in this process. The Louisiana Poet Laureate serves a 2-year term and is dedicated to raising awareness and appreciation of poetry through public programming across the state. With funding and support from the LEH, the Poet Laureate will be available for public programming, including readings, workshops, and lectures at venues across Louisiana. We hope that you will consider working with us to bring Lisa Saloy to your community. And for sites that wish to host the Poet Laureate, we invite you to visit our website, leh.org. Now, a couple of housekeeping notes. Today's conversation is being recorded and streamed via Facebook Live using Zoom webinar. If you have a question you'd like answered during the question and answer period, please locate the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen and type your question there. We have reserved 15 minutes at the end of the conversation for audience questions. We've also enabled closed captioning for today's program. To activate closed captions on your device, locate the closed caption icon marked CC in your Zoom toolbar at the bottom of the screen, click it and select Show Subtitles. And now it is my pleasure to invite our outgoing Poet Laureate, John Warner Smith, who served our state admirably and with unflinching determination during the most unprecedented of times, to make remarks and introduce his successor. John?
Good evening. Well, I am ecstatic, excited to be here this evening, and I want to welcome everyone who's joining us this evening for this very special night in which we introduce and hear the wonderful poetry, the talent of Dr. Lisa Saloy. I'm going to go right into the introduction, and ladies and gentlemen, you can't imagine how thrilled I am to be doing this. It is a distinct honor and privilege as outgoing Poet Laureate to step up and bring on the new, and I'd say one of the, who will be, I think, and I know will be one of the great Poet Laureates to ever serve the state of Louisiana. Dr. Lisa Saloy is an award-winning author and folklorist, educator and scholar of Creole culture in articles, documentaries, and poems about Black New Orleans, before and after Katrina. Currently, Conrad in Hilton Endowed Professor and of English at Dillard University. Dr. Saloy documents Creole culture in sidewalk songs, jump rope rhymes, and clap hand games to discuss the importance of play. She writes on the significance of the Black beat poets, especially Bob Kaufman, on the African-American toasting tradition, Black talk, and on keeping Creole to today. Her first book, Red Beans and Rightly Yours, won the T.S. Eliot Prize and the Penn Oakland-Josephine Miles Award. Her collection of poems, Second Line Home, captures New Orleans speech, family dynamics, and celebrates New Orleans, the unique culture that the entire world loves. Dr. Saloy's screenplay for the documentary Easter Rock premiered in Paris, the Ethnograph Film Festival, and at the National Black Museum. There is a lot more to be said. She's lectured on Black Creole culture at Poets House NYC, the Smithsonian, Purdue University, the University of Washington, and Woodland Patton's Book Center. A documentary, Blue New Orleans, is on Black Creole culture. Mona Lisa is an editorial reviewer for Meridians, Feminism, Race, Transnationalism. Her recent publications of verse, New Orleans, A Neighborhood Nation, I Am New Orleans, Anthology, Kaluma Ya Salam, editor, University of New Orleans Press, 2021. And the newest, Chicago Quarterly Review, Volume 33, Anthology of Black American Literature. Mona Lisa Saloy writes for those who don't or can't tell Black Creole culture stories. I'll close with something on the personal side of Mona Lisa that was revealed in the nomination letter submitted by Dr. Olivia McNeely Pass, who nominated Mona Lisa for the Poet Laureate position, in which she said, Dr. Pass said, most Louisianians appreciate their families and acknowledge the fact that all families have both pleasures and troubles with their family members. Dr. Saloy shows that as well in her verse. Her father, who, as she has written in her poetry, had teasingly told her that she had been conceived in Nat King Cole's Mona Lisa, had Alzheimer's at the end of his life. And Mona Lisa put her doctorate on hold for quite some time so that she could take care of her father. Her poems about him are tender, intimate, honest, and powerful. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Mona Lisa Saloy.
Thank you so much, John Warner Smith. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, what a thrill, what an honor. I am excited and happy and welcome. Thank you for coming, for sharing this important moment for me personally, for our beloved state. First, I give big thanks to God Almighty for taking me such a mighty long way to here, for my life, for my family, friends, mentors, and great colleagues. Thank you, Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities, for presenting the Louisiana Poet Laureate. Thank you to the LEH Poet panel, for Poet Laureate panel, for their belief in me and my work, and for our dear Governor John Bell Edwards for selecting me to serve our beloved Louisiana state. Special thanks to Dr. Olivia McNeely Pass, who nominated me. and all those wonderful folks who wrote letters of support for that nomination. Thank you, thank you. Thank you to my academic and cultural home of Blacknificence, Dillard University of New Orleans, to the academic leadership, especially of Dr. Yolanda Page, Vice President, who has continuously supported my endeavors from the arts to research. And on that note, to UNCF Mellon, Dr. Cynthia Neal Spence, for their generous support of my work over the years, as well as the National Endowment for the Humanities, the Louisiana Division of the Arts, and the Louisiana Division of Folk Life, Maida Owens there. My literary mentors, Colleen McElroy, Charles Johnson, Roger Kamenetz, thank you all. To my beloved ancestors, Mama and Papa Fitch, Big Mo, my dear parents, both creative and disciplinarians, my parent, Uncle Toot, Uncle Clifford, Aunt Florence, Aunt Val, Uncle Herbert, who all filled my life with love and stories for a lifetime, and lots of music. To all my siblings, especially my dear sister, who pushed me to college and supported me with friendship, love, and cultural support through all those degrees. To my dear brothers, always there with unconditional friendship, love, support. And all their children, my dear nieces and nephews, were even more of the same. I stand on all your shoulders. All my dear cousins, especially Connie and Big D, who always offer family and home in all their ways. Marlene, Herman, Norma, plus longtime friends Jeanette, Donna, Cindy, Lou, Cerrone, Jackie, plus my newest posse, the OGs, Walking Gang, especially my former Louisiana Poet Laureates. Thank you. I love you all. For my tenure as Louisiana Poet Laureate, I want to raise consciousness to a greater appreciation of the reading and writing of poetry. And I have very specific ideas, but I want to share two. One, my theme is Louisiana culture's loving words. So I want to encourage everyone to tell their unique Louisiana stories in verse, to honor ancestors and look with hope into tomorrow. Especially, I want to find funding to select Louisiana's Youth Poet Laureate for a cash gift or scholarship, and the finalists to be somehow poetry ambassadors. So, you know anybody who would like to support that? Donate to the Louisiana Endowment so that we can make this happen. So we would be happy to have partners in this endeavor. And there are others, and I know it's ambitious, but worth our attention and time for our youth, for their ambitions and aspirations. Louisiana culture's loving words. And on that, I will share my work. This first poem is called Word Works, and it's from my first book, Red Beans and Rice, the Yours. Word Works. I'm about how words work up a gumbo of culture, stamped and certified African, delivered on Southern American soil. In my word house, we spit out articles and prepositions like bitter chewing tobacco. We lean on words that paint pictures of gallate and grits and good times, sitting under gallery shades, sipping lemonade, wearing the afternoon like a new dress. This, my birthright, gives a sense of place that gets under your skin, like a swamp leech or a good story out for blood. The region gives you toast or beignets with jam. The rhythm and blues, jazz, and reggae rhythms spice Saturday night suppers and street parades when the Grand Marshal leads the second line after a funeral or any good excuse to party where umbrellas dance. Folks all colored from pale and yellow to midnight blue-black never just stand back and watch. They're gonna say it, how they see it, how they feel about everything and then some. From roaches to do-rags, from Daddy Do-Right to David Ku Klux Duke, to sisters ringing the barest budget for another meal. So here's a taste, begun in a root, sauteed in lines like this. Trust a man as far as you can see him, because you know stiff stuff don't have no conscience, Sister Sarah said. She had 9 kids and 3 grandkids, didn't look a day over 40, said she was preserved because she left the fun box in and took the trouble box out. Then Abear cut in from the curb. Fun was all he heard. Said he was the women's pet, the sis's regret, and the whore's lollipop. So Sister Sarah said, well, pass the bread, because that's baloney for true. So call this a Crescent City mambo of days in peopled streets, or nights in low-lighted clubs, on boulevards where passers-by pale and bloom like days-old irises or azaleas. The places where neighborhood front porches and side galleries stand vigil for tall talkers and pass-the-time rappers. Here in my house, a Crescent City mambo in words. Next is one for our entire, trying to capture a little taste of our entire wonderful state, entitled Louisiana Log. It's dedicated to Bob Kaufman. Louisiana Log. Land south of the Mason-Dixon, of Gulf waters and Mississippi tugboat size. Land of cane, rice, and watermelon, jungle plums, we call them. Po' boys, patios, patois, pecans, pecan pies, pralines, and papier-mâché masks. Place of oak tree swamps, pine and cypress, with hanging gray moss punctuated by peacocks and pirogues. Lands of Creoles, Cajuns, Black Indians, Cowans, mud bugs, catfish, and bayou crooners. Region of hot, wet air, heavy with hurricanes, honeysuckle, Irish hash, and haints. Land of black-faced Zulus, Louis Armstrong, river dragons, griots, grits and gris-gris with loup-garou sunsets. Zone of cockfights, absinthe, taffia, anisette, and gospel groups, congree and gravel sidewalks. Land of deep-fried fritters, the boot state, trying to keep his head afloat, the Long Lake state, the polluted Pontchartrain, the Tooth Fairy state, the coon-ass state, the red pepper state, the home of Tabasco sauce, the US precinct of Mardi Gras and street parades with great flambeaux and marching bands, the best in the Southland, home of pelicans and cranes, ring roaches, a finger long that fly and face you at sunup. Climate of smiling eyes and handshakes and great hugs and southern hot dews when every day's a come on out of the thunder shower day. Longitude of lagniappe, yeah, you're right, and starlit nights. Meridian of Coubillon, hush puppies, gumbo, and deathless days. Everyday hallelujahs, crawfish bisque, praying in tongues, novenas and graveyard gifts of lilies, silver dimes, and bambula. Tropic below sea level of Scorpio and St. Joseph salutations. People who parade, paint faces and forearms like irises and demons. Domain of bayous, levees, canals, alligators, bugaloosa, and wrought iron fences. Neighborhood of voodoo good luck, yam crops and misbelieves. The password is party and umbrellas dance. Latitude of leprosy and soybeans, clover and jasmine, mildew and dead moss. Vicinity of sidewalk cafes, boulevards, preachers and priests with cathedrals of saints' bones and a chafalaya. Soil of courtyards and river blues, Professor Longhair piano riffs, Zydeco and rosaries on Wednesday nights. The Mahalia Jackson and Fats domino belt, where the saints come march, where you find your thrill. Terrain of cotton and fireflies, bumblebees and cats, tiger striped to Siamese in alleyways, and garbage heaps of oyster shells and shrimp leavings. There's more cats per square inch here than most states. Department of Big Chief, cafe au lait and beignets, galette, couscous and milk. Sphere of classical and Dixieland jazz, rhythm and blues, bayou blues with Baptist Catholics, and the Ku Klux Klan with jazz singers and souls crying. State of Chocolate City number 10, with fortune tellers and spiritual healers, wall geckos, muddy water and missionaries. District of sweat and shade, the second line, Mississippi moonlit nights. Saturday night suppers in the backyard, the sanctioned speakeasies. Confines of Thibodeau, Chapatulas, Houma, and Louisiana red and wingtips. Native land of jive and jambalaya. The Crescent City, the city care for God and remembered for true. This particular poem, I'm shifting a little bit. It's actually part of my new collection. And the title is, You Know You're in New Orleans. You know you're in New Orleans. Enter a restaurant and some melancholy blues man wails, ooh, ooh, baby, baby. Aroma of fresh seafood boil hits your face to smile. Outside at the picture window frame, a green lizard greets, just bellowing that big under chin sack to pink, then fades before he scampers off into 12 feet of blooming iris, white and yellow blooms. Four brothers shuck oysters nonstop, keeping time to swinging hips of young brown women sliding into seats. It's Friday, and Maze teases with, before I let go, in silky sounds, before I go waiting for my hazel-eyed soul sister raised in Flint, Badwater, Michigan. Her birthday lunch today, she's late, BST, Black Standard Time. Contractor call rings. Tell him I'm eating crab claws. He orders a helicopter to me in his dream, between big belly laughs. Teases a plea for a doggy bag of crab tails. Thunderclaps, rain pouring in sheets a block away, skips us, dies at the causeway overpass. I'm flanked by Caucasians at each table, two white guys, dad and grown son, inhale charboiled oysters on half shells and seat dance the whole time, Carlton of Fresh Prince style. Fists rock, they sway and laugh and eat. Good food, more fab than fear, Black folks near. Have mercy on me. Food zones punctuated by good rhythm and blues equals us all to enjoy first and last. That's naturally Orleans. As Amiri Baraka says, we still have it, y'all. Another poem from my first book, Southern Sisters. There's a way Crescent City women, downtown brown sisters, put a face towel on their shoulders, sweat rags for summers when it's hot enough to melt toe cheese on the banquet as the sidewalk. There's a way New Orleans women, brickhead red sisters, carry a kerchief through long tan fingers. It's like the hand that fans you. There's a way Crescent City sisters throw a wink with a wide smile, so good, makes you want to kiss your mama, yeah. Makes you want to kiss your mama, yeah. There's a way the Houma Huckabuck women tip a hat to the side on their heads and strut all dressed up to kiss, like queens of the ebony isles. Makes you want to kiss your mama, yeah. Makes you want to kiss your mama, yeah. So I have to give equal time to the brothers. And this one from the same book, Red Beans and Rice Yours, for my brothers. They come from Kingston or Lagos, Carolina or Chicago, in second generation struts from Jackson or Detroit, New Orleans and Oakland, tipping a dip in their walks, leaning under Stetsons, solid black and three-piece suits, echoing yellow to black in t-shirts against muscles earned on American streets, like moles with big lips and ebony eyes of almonds or diamonds raw. Some too broken to bitch, others speak in labors and art, fight, push the word execs. Some grow their hair in dreads or knots, crying, yeah, that's me. I don't fit. You won't let me fit anyways. Yet they live to rejoice life, sing the blues, Jazz the magic they know, each move a mojo. Warm and fresh like new grass, they come carrying cures of love. It's all many have, like a sunset and a song, and being a man, a Black man, conjuring a day at a time with honeyed smiles and chocolate touches. They speak proverbs in pungent tongues of Friday night juju from pyramid and one-room flats. They taste of good luck, feel you like voodoo, healing the deep scars of busting them open. They whisper spit from banjo bellies, smell like other worlds. So keep on, bloom, sun-soaked sweet willies. This one is for my generation. I call us frontliners. I guess my generation and the generation above me. Frontliners. We came after World War II, the doo-wop kids, the original teenagers who believed in America, those second-class citizens, the last Jim Crow generation. Often imitated from Jolson to Elvis, our beat took the chitlin circuit to juke joints and nightclubs back of town. We made bandstand and Motown, anointed the world with soul and the Afro, sowed freedom into America's vote, and believed there was a place for us in the land of the free. So the youth moved north, bit the bitter freedom of blank faces where everyone's from someplace else, the taste of a modern era. Where's the Black community now? In double Dutch contests sponsored by McDonald's or under the neon moon at the Grammys. I can count the Black men my age on one hand. There's good brothers, married bloods, died or wish they died in Vietnam brothers, streets brothers or die now in prison ones. Warriors left, the brothers now on the front lines, hold on to their Blackness and sanity like a last meal. Where's the Black community now? Burrowed warmly in our hearts, rising in a melody or two, or a good gospel shout at Sunday service. We live from Atlantic to Pacific, send our love by stamp or phone call, see our traditions on dance floors of clubs where DJs scratch to tenders in Reeboks or Jordache and Guess jackets. Oh yeah, we still speak Black. Ghettoese is now hip enough to get airplay from radio to video, and the times are tighter than a turtle's tail. The government won't give a crippled crab a crutch. So we smell of sweat and the sobbing of lean years. But we know how to cry and hold each other, no matter how many statistics publish lies about how we don't or can't stay married. We've looked north long enough, saw promises fade with each dusk. We grew inside America like oak trees in Louisiana pine. The eagle still pays up. We pinch the nickels in our pockets till the buffalo squeals and thank God for weekends. We grow lean, dig soul on the commute to work, whisper on sidewalks and celebrate minutes. Our children skip to anything virtual. We escaped America's change like chameleons. We know how to live, jusqu'au bon temps roulé, until the good times roll. Tis the season of hurricanes. That requires mind prep, supply prep, leaving, staying, then packing, the going, the angst, the arriving. Where during COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2? This is a taste of poems of seasons past, remembering all of that, living through it, trying to live past it. That never happens. Disasters, natural disasters rather, climate disasters should not be regular occurrences. Unavoidable as sneezing, listening, seeing. At least my pen can tell the tales. The good news is that storms pass, and we can return to some semblance of normal until the next time. Such is life, a challenge at best. But as my elders always said, every day is not promised. And what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So chew on that. This one's called Hurricane Days. These are days of heavy rains and hurricanes, booming thunder, lightning, sultry nights, when bed sheets stick and mosquitoes follow your skin, humanities in your ear side up, stinging and blood sucking while you sleep, if you can. Water bugs rise from zinc drains, from deeper pipes. Mice or rats visit toilets sometimes, and private parts of unaware sitters in the dark. Between thunderclaps that echo wars of the past and inner wars of the present, absent love or hearts heavy with jealousy or love family full of face with empty pockets, when the lights fail, all electrical sound stops, not even white noise. No birds yak, no dogs bark. We marvel at jagged light, 200 streaks across gray-black skies, when the air cools and smells freshly washed in thunder showers like bombs of water falling. We give thanks for such reminders. What's important? Being here. This is September 29th, as you know. It's my mother's birthday. Were she alive, she'd be over 110. So I was an old people's child. And these next few poems are for my parents. My mother's the daughter of a slave, an early generation of free city Black women. New Orleans, 1907, when jazz honked and talked dives in the Vukari and Uptown. She was jet black and she was happy. Never knew she was cute till a high yellow nigga named Louis came round. Called mother pretty black, almond eyes, streetlight bright. I never knew her grown. She said, live good, baby. She passed in 66, knew everybody for blocks. And they came every night for 2 weeks to pay last respects. They stood single file for 2 blocks on the banquet. From sundown to starlight, they came, they said, because they remembered. Said she always had a wink, a smile, time to listen or make big fun or help or be. Always said, live good every day. It's all we've got. And they came, they said, because they remembered. She was jet black and she was happy. Never knew she was cute till a high yellow nigga named Louis came round. Called mother pretty black, almond eyes, streetlight bright. I never knew her grown. She said, live good, baby. It's all we've got. That one was in my first book. And this one is newer. Missing Mother. My neck curves like mother said it would if I didn't sit up. Stand up straighter, you'll bend over like a person older than you are when you're my age. When mother's eyes saw me stoop, my back straightened like a narrow balloon, blown ready to make a big stick figure for a clown. Mother's eyes had a way of following me like a shadow, always there, just beyond sight. Electric, like she had superpowers to make me smile at her wink. She liked to wink at me, and I melted each time, warmed over with her narrow brown eyes, the color of raw almonds. Somewhere in the 2 weeks past 16 years old, she left me, shriveled up like a blue prune, and left this life without saying goodbye. There was no one at the corner of my eyes, slim and sparrow like hers, gone. Why is God so full of love, yet cruel? Where are my mother's eyes? Do her winks lace heaven? For years, I carried her sayings on my back like an alligator snapping, stinging, or hugging me for dear life. Now, her ways and wisdom are tucked neatly in my pocket, in my head. Sometimes I forget her chocolate face smiling at me until I touch that space in my pocket, the rough alligator skin familiar. Its arms smaller over time, but its growl and bite, claws hold me again like today, dusting her framed face, speaking to her sepia photo, damply dinged in Katrina mold and humidity. It's hard to believe I'm older than her last day. She, a married mother as a teen, divorced soon after 20, then married again to my Creole dad, Louis, the second love of her life. The first time daddy saw mother's beautiful teeth smiling at him, he was in love. Gave her her first taste of chocolate, the color of her cheeks like a frame. He taught her how to say baby, like my big brother John calls to me. In Stukawan in spring. Years later at the dentist, daddy cried at mother's first painful cavity, her white teeth flashing neon against ebony skin. And near his last days, the guilt still from his salty eyes. Me, the baby girl grown now, and too long in the bad habit of slouching over stacks of books, book bags, magazines, microfilm, archives, journals old and new. Me, pregnant with papers to read and write, ideas stinging my head like mosquitoes. Today, from now on, I'm sitting and standing erect, thankful for the dream of days and mother's wisdom packed in my pockets. This one is called Years Ago, Katrina. And it's a taste of what happened to my father when I had the honor of being his caregiver. But it's also a taste of a family backyard party given to me by my dear cousins and the whole family. And I hope I capture this for you to give you a sense of what it's like. And the song that I capture is I Ain't Much on Casanova, and that's a popular R&B song, but you hear it a lot. It's Levert, but you hear it a lot in second lines. Years ago, Katrina. It was hotter and more humid than now. The ink was not dry on my PhD. My family gave me a knockdown, dance-up backyard party. Cousins came from far. Elder neighbors who loved me through the hardest days of research and elder care of my daddy, through the crack epidemic that left daddy drooling from the putrid red beans, a layer of moldy slime swimming across the top of the big black iron pot I found in the filthy mice and rat infested kitchen, with only a piece of roof dangling, roaches flying from nest to nest like birds. My family remembered that crackheads stole everything not nailed down. Didn't leave daddy a pair of shoes. I had to draw around his feet on cardboard. The shoe store clerk wanted to make security remove me until I stood my ground and left with a tan pair of huaraches and slippers for daddy. Doctors thought him deaf and deteriorating from dementia, but he had just closed his ears and leaking eyes to the disappointment he saw in his stepkids and the transient men who took over his home, his life with no hot running water, a broken toilet, the weeds growing through the bathroom floor from the dirt ground 4 feet below the clawfoot iron tub leaning through the broken floorboards, rotten from neglect. Took me 2 years in and out of court to get rid of those Negroes. It was the filth and poor nutrition on top of it that diminished this World War II Army sergeant, master carpenter, into a man who babbled, slobbered, who forgot who he knew, my daddy, who used to dance with my mother and shuck oysters at our backyard parties growing up. Had no idea what I walked into. Just rolled his 300-pound body in sheets to clean him and change bed linens until the shower was installed. His first shower since his Army days, he sang. He was happy again. Came back to himself fully for years, thank God. returning to stand guard on the front porch and greet family and neighbors, or what we call dope hopping, talk stuff about passers-by. Even his doctors were shocked, but we all knew it was only God and a lot of prayers. My new colleagues, friends and professors now friends, came and ate Buster's Plourines and Andrew's banana Foster bread pudding with us and danced the second line with us onto Dual Street and Epituro, laughing faces in tune to Levert's I Ain't Much on Casanova. Me and Romeo ain't never been friends. Can't you see how much I really love you? Gonna say it to you time and time again. Oh, Casanova. They thought my family was celebrating my degree. My cousin Larry said this backyard bash took him to our old parties, that everybody came just for me, not for a wedding, not for a funeral. Baby, nobody got married and nobody died, Larry shouted. They came for me, for watching me love Daddy back to health, back to himself, back to our family. And yes, the PhD, a family first, bringing us all together the way we were all raised. Only God, we said, only God. Cicadas sang through the evening, serenading nights, until stopped only days later by Hurricane Katrina, fanned across the Gulf. That was our family's last time all together with longtime elders, Mush, our jazz crooner, the fishnet making Leons and great gumbo Cerise no longer here. I told my family, maybe I'll write a novel about those hard days of waking up to a strawberry, a crackhead whore, peering over the African beads on my dresser, and Daddy with no shoes. I'll change the names to protect the guilty. It was hotter and more humid years ago, the last time our family was all together, when nobody died and no one got married. I ain't much on Casanova. Me and Romeo ain't never been friends. Thank you. This poem, I was in residence at the San Francisco African American Historical and Cultural Society and running the workshop, and Alice Walker got the Pulitzer Prize. And so we raised money to buy her purple flowers, purple roses, and brought them to the Black bookstore in town in the Fillmore. And she sent us a check for $1,000, and I had that check, a copy of it, until Katrina drowned it. But I wrote this poem as a thank you to her. I was on the plane and trying to give her a sense of what I witnessed having come home for a visit. And the title is the first line of the poem. I'd forgotten the loud laughing locusts due at night, the smell of hot grass steaming under end of summer rain. Hurricane Elena was prayed away from New Orleans by holy women, Haints and Loas. Hurricanes, the Crescent City Crusade, like Bayou music from Alan Toussaint, the rhythm and blues basic brew. Hey there, sugar dumpling, let me tell you something. From King Floyd or Irma Thomas, who used to be called colored singers or Chitlin circuit crooners. New Orleans leaves a honey taste in my mouth. The cracked boulevards and weeping willows shade bare front porches and call her children home. I holler, hey now, come southern grown like Melito and magnolias. And how am I doing for time? Okay. I'll read something new, a couple of new things, and call it an evening. And this one is, I'll read these two because this has been a hard time on everyone. And thank you, Uncle Ish. These appeared on the West Coast in Ishmael Reed's online journal. It's part of a series I call COVID Chronicles. Home only a year and some months. It took 16 moves in 14 and a half years with 12 different addresses since losing everything in post-Katrina flooding. Here in my 7th Ward neighborhood, by mid-March, professors, students, staff, admin said, go home. At first I thought, this is a dream. Must have heard them wrong, a fantasy. No, a virus. COVID-19 killing folks around the world. Spread like confetti at a Mardi Gras parade. So go home, stay home. Not the movie folks, not the NBA, NFL, no billboard folks. In just weeks, nurses, doctors, garbage men, grocery clerks are stars. Corona drama 2020, then folks complained, forced out of work, their freedoms denied, but their lives saved. I'm not stuck at home, I'm safer at home. And after grading 300 end of spring assignments and final exams, I'm a blessed one. Safely home, can pay my bills for now, read a book, binge watch Luke Cage or The Godfather of Harlem, listen to Nat King Cole, Aretha or Her, get the mail and groceries, fight my fridge for control, call my siblings and ask, what you doing? And really mean it. Call my cousins and ask, what you cooking now? Call my brother and ask, did you read the one about all the people out of work? All the people protesting to remove lockdown status and opening up the economy? I feel their hurt chests and empty bank accounts and wonder what's next to eat. All I can see are all those people still alive to see another day, like Aunt Rose always said. Be grateful God woke you up this morning. Another lockdown. Well, it's official. We marched into this. Everyone's on lockdown. Happy now? Even the Irish had to cancel St. Patrick's Day bashes. COVID-19 more deadly than the flu, killing Black folks mostly. Well, welcome to America again. No time to be incognito. Folks formerly too ashamed to admit they also do Black talk among each other, tweeting their fantasy future of Blackity, where we can just be our beautiful Black selves. Better wash your hands, keep your fingers out of your face, cover your muzzles, eyes too. Well, wash hands a long time. Then singing all of the birthday song got old quickly. So I jam while scrubbing with the Dixie cup singing, I go, I go, I go, I go one day. Giacomo fino anane, Giacomo finane. Only I sing the whole thing. Perfect for simple smiles and booty shakes. Maybe it takes a little bit longer, but happy all the while like Pharrell. Then by April, no Easter parade, no church baskets, no church celebrations. April, indeed, the cruelest month. Culture bearers not covered by anyone. No Black Indians masking on St. Joseph, the Workers' Day. Hospitality workers out of luck, God bless them. Free Wi-Fi that sucks. Free movies we've all seen a dozen times. There's no restart to this leap year. Already years long, it seems. Kids climbing kitchen walls and neighbor fences. My little 6-year-old Island next door says he's forgetting his classmates' names. My dog, Big Easy, wonders why I'm home so much. His sweet eyes speak, you again, what gives? My new perfume is hand sanitizer number 2020. They say the Great Plague or Black Death was from 1665 to 1666, the cholera epidemic, 1830 to 1832 in the US. The Spanish flu was 100 years ago, 1 billion died. Now, COVID-19 in the world and here in the USA. But there was some cause for celebration. 3 Black writers win the Pulitzer Prize in Literature. Jericho Brown Dillard Moy from Louisiana for Testament, his poetry. Michael R. Jackson, A Strange Loop, a drama. Colson Whitehead, The Nickel Boys, a novel. Plus the great Ida B. Wells, 100 years later, gets a special citation and $50,000 forthcoming. Okay, this is some 90 plus days for the Washington Company. So I graduate to another NOLA standard from the Meters. They all ask for you. They all ask for you. The monkeys ask, the tigers ask, and the elephant asked me too, while scrubbing dirt and cheeky virus residue down the drain. Gotta shake it all off, shake my shoulders in time. Since June comes a cruel second for the shakeup of sidewalk neck choking lynching of another brother. So I celebrate in honor of George Floyd, Breonna Martin, Alton Sterling, Tamir Rice, Michael Brown, Eric Garner, in all those unnamed tragic deaths at the hands of racist cops hired to protect and serve. I'll sing my heart out while I can, just in case I'm next. I'm gonna lay down my burdens down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. And I'm gonna end with this poem. It is new and it is at the request of my poet laureate, John Warner Smith. And he heard it this weekend. And a shout out to the Black avant-garde group in Baton Rouge, where we appeared on Sunday. And this is part of a series called Black Creole Chronicles. Black New Orleans for true. Come Mondays, some will never see us. Some will never understand, only some will get us. Only some will dig our sound, our joy, our style, our hip reverb, our lingo, our tales, tall and squat and old as the world. Will they see who or what she or he is? Our crime was being Black. Our salvation, faith, and African ancestry replete with exuberant arts, adaptable like lizards. We weren't supposed to survive whole. Black Creoles say, now you got the picture with the right pair of drawers on. Creoles burrow, guardians of the Creole groove. Creoles can't stay calm doing nothing. We make guitar or piano solos or wail one potato, two potato at play, or salad with eggs to kiss your papa. Don't much bother folks who wake up to sweet smells of cane rice laced on gale pie, pan-fried shortening bread. Who makes the best oyster stew? Who shucks them best? We be doing us. No, we don't mind waiting to see the Lord though. In the meantime, we tell kids, there's ancestors in your veins. We, called to the battlefield of life, turn stumbling blocks into skipping stones. Slip, slap, smile, or frown. Stories turn our necks around. So hold someone's good in mind. Be safest in somebody's prayers. Now, that's between you and me and the gatepost. Shh. That's between you and me and the gatepost. I hope you enjoyed some of my work and that it brought you some joy. So stay safe, be well, and mask like it's Mardi Gras.
Mona Lisa, thank you so much for that amazingly inspiring and timely reading. We are very lucky to have you. I'm Erin Greenwald. I'm Vice President of Public Programs here at the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities. And I have the very lucky job of asking you questions on behalf of the audience. I am going to start, though, with asking a question of my own, and that is, what are you most looking forward to as Louisiana Poet Laureate?
Traveling around, meeting folks all over the state, hearing their cultural stories, meeting writers and people who maybe a little shy about sharing it, encouraging them to write more, encouraging everyone to tell their stories and to document them so we don't lose them. We have so many precious cultures. So I'm looking forward to meeting lots of people and sharing my work and hearing their work and hearing a lot of stories, a lot of tales.
I think people are going to be really thrilled to have that experience with you. You speak to such a specific culture here in New Orleans, but one that is connected throughout the African diaspora. We're very fortunate in Louisiana to live in such a culturally rich place where we can learn from each other and hear each other's voices. If anyone has a question for Mona Lisa, we welcome you to enter the question into the Q&A. And I'm going to start with an audience question, Mona Lisa. We have an attendee, and thank you everyone for joining us tonight on a Wednesday evening. We appreciate you. We hope you didn't have any technical difficulties with Zoom. It seems to be a pretty popular platform, and I know we had a little bit of a delay for some folks, so thank you for sticking with us. We have a question from an anonymous member of the audience. It says, your poetic voice is beautiful. The way you capture local communities right down to the front porches and sidewalks is expert. It seems like when poetry as a discipline moved further away from celebrating the vernacular, it also moved away from being part of an everyday American culture. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I am because of my culture and my community. And that is what I attempt to honor in my work. And in a way preserve, because I see it transitioning. We are so much more technological. And even in the aftermath of Katrina, with what I call toothless neighborhoods, the homes that are missing. So we're not as dense as we used to be. So, I mean, usually it was blocks and blocks of people next to each other. And so there's more spaces. In some ways that's pleasant, but we lost a lot of natives, and many are still trying to get back, trying to return, because once you get established somewhere else, it's difficult to return. So I want to honor that vernacular. I want to honor the uniqueness of our culture, because we're in one of the places we don't ignore each other. We welcome everyone. We speak to each other. And that is not the mark of a modern society, where people look past you and you could be on the ground hurting and no one will stop to say anything or help you. But not in the South, especially not in New Orleans. Our humanity, we still have it. And we are genuine with one. We might genuinely work on your nerves, but we are genuine. You can have the greatest conversation with a total stranger at the bus stop or at a gas station. And that does not happen in other places in this country. And so I love that. And so I try to capture that honestly.
This is true. When did you start writing poetry, and who are some of the individuals who inspired you?
Certainly the Black arts movement, but my initial foray was Black music and gospel music, and because there was never a party in my family where my elders didn't break into a Negro spiritual. And there was always music on the radio in New Orleans, and everything from R&B to jazz. And I have a very musical family. My uncle played the whole piano. What do they call it? I forget what they call it. He played the whole key, and his son is a composer and performer, and his son is, and the whole family and his wife, musical family. And so poetry is musical. It's meant to be oral. It's meant to be performed and shared. And I love that. I love the sharing of it. And it's the oral stories, but poetry says more using less words. So it's memorable because of that, like a good song. So I love it. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We have a question about oral histories and passing on stories from generation to generation. We have an audience member who wants to know if your family members spoke on their stories with regards to slavery and the history of African Americans in New Orleans.
Yes, my papa was born enslaved in Alabama and walked to New Orleans to be free. He lived to be 110. So he was a storyteller in the family, a Baptist minister, and it was him, and he was the oldest, and he held court on the front porch talking smack, but he also knew history because he lived it. He knew everybody's families and the generations. And so it was me, Dwight, he's 6 months younger than me, and then Larry, 6 months older than me. The three of us, we were the youngest and he was the oldest, and we were always together in the beginning. So we heard all those stories. And of course, there were times when they were toasting, if the language was, I had to go because that was for the men. But I grew up with those stories, and even my grandmother and my dad was a writer. He wrote for people. So it's part of my DNA, stories, and literally stories that were passed on by word of mouth, face to face, generation to generation, which is the definition of folklore.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we're really lucky in New Orleans. We have such a strong folklore and folk life tradition in our day-to-day lives. And I think we sometimes don't even realize it because that's what we know.
Yeah.
We're very, very fortunate. One of your students would like to know how you realized you were supposed to be a writer and how you overcome writer's block, assuming that you've had it.
Oh, that's a long one. How do I condense it? I lost my memory. I married too young, married the wrong person, and lost my memory in a car accident. Literally, I didn't know who I was, and he didn't tell me, and he didn't tell my family. And the doctor, the car rolled over 3 times, fell 30 feet down an embankment onto the next interstate. I could have died. And that was before there was shoulder harnesses. Anyway, I wrote to remember, and I met young writers who said, "You sound like a writer." And I didn't know what that meant. I literally didn't know who I was. And I was telling stories about Marie Laveau and washing the steps with lye. And I didn't know where it came from. And they took me to their teacher, who became my mentor. And I showed her my little journal with all this stuff. And she said, "Let me show you what to do with this." And that was Colleen McElroy. And she became my mentor and encouraged me to get back into classes. Because of course I'd stopped. I was flat on my back for 2 years. Well, a year and a half. And that began meeting those young writers who were reading in a cafe next door. Became an excitement. And then I found the Black Arts Movement, all those great voices. And so they all inspired me. And then I realized that all of literature, so I had a lot of catch up to do. It seemed like I was always on catch up. So I loved the study. And apparently I always wrote a little and sang. I didn't remember any of that, but it was part of who I was and how I grew up. But the formal studying came after writing to remember and meeting young writers who encouraged me to take classes and meet their teacher, who became my mentor.
Getting a lot of well wishes and love from folks in the audience. Sally from Ashe is sending love, and
Yay,
Megan Holt
Sally.
from One Book, One New Orleans.
Yay, Megan.
We've got Malik Bartholomew and Lafayette Collins all sending you
Yay.
congratulations.
Thank you, y'all.
A couple of people are wondering how you've adapted your writing practice during COVID-19, during the kind of disruption of our lives in the last 18 months.
I write all the time. It just, I keep, now I do digital notes, but, and I save it 3 places so that I don't get it lost like I did the manuscripts that drowned in Katrina. So I write all the time, and I now have a new collection. It's that big. It's because just responding to the times. I have to. I'm used to it. It's in me. It's part of who I am, and it's the way I handle it. I can get it off my chest. And what always delights me is that I'm writing for me and my family, and I try to write for those who can't or won't. And it just touches my heart when people say, "Wow, I get it. I know what you mean." And that I'm touched by that. Thank you, because I feel like then I'm doing what God wants me to do with my skills. And so I try to be true to that and worthy of the attention that people give my work and bring my best to it.
We've got another student, Nyla Stark.
Ah,
I'm so proud of you. I'm honored to be one of your Dillard students. Thank you for sharing your amazing and beautiful work tonight. It was such a blessing. Do you think every poet should honor and preserve their culture in their work? And a second question is, what are your thoughts on Instagram poets?
Number one, I think writers have to do what moves them. You have to be true to yourself. Not everyone is concerned with the past. Although, as the Adinkra stamp from the Akan people in West Africa say, you have to look to the past before you can go forward, the Sankofa symbol. And that's an important proverb. So at some point you have to know who you are to move forward. But that's what moves me, but it doesn't have to move everyone. I think people have a right to literally compose and create from wherever they are. Now, as far as Instagram poets, okay, Nyla, you have to teach me about that. So I'm curious now. I'll look forward to that discussion in class.
Well, that's great. Biljana Obradovic from Xavier, sister institution, is wondering how you keep being so joyful as a person and as a writer in spite of the hardship you and your family have endured.
God, faith. God took me to it and through it. We are praying people, and God answers prayers. I'm a witness. We bury too many people, and we serve a faithful God. I believe that with all my heart, and it keeps the joy and peace in my heart. And it's like being a baby. You fall down and life makes you fall, and you have to pick yourself up and take that next step. And so prayer all my life has taught me that. And faith has kept me going when all else fails. My faith in God keeps me going. And I'm so thankful for that.
Brenna Betancourt is an elementary school teacher, and she says she sees so many students struggling and unmotivated to write. How can we help ignite our children's fervor for putting their thoughts on paper? Something I think that is important to you.
Yes. Read good poetry to them. If you have some good pieces, they will be touched and moved. They shouldn't have to be stuck with things they don't relate to. And certainly you have to teach the greats and the classics, but you can use contemporary works that maybe speak to their generation as a way to get their attention. And then once you have their attention, then you can bring in something else that's more classical. And then they'll even appreciate it more because they'll say, oh, that's a tool? Maybe I could use something of that right now. And I've seen it again and again and again. And students are open, but you have to catch their attention. And so thank you. People like Nyla keep me young because I bring what I can to the table, but I let them bring what they know because they're a different generation. And I have an Instagram account. Do I look at it all the time? No.
Right.
So it's a sharing, and educators who care will listen as much as they give and talk, because it's a two-way street. Learning is something that we do together. And so I might bring what I've learned, but they bring what they've learned. And so it's a meeting of the minds. So stay open and let them tell you what they're interested in.
Absolutely. Very important question. We have a lot of folks wondering where they can purchase your books, and if you could repeat the titles of your published works.
All right. Red Beans and Ricely Yours is available in reprint by next week. I think you can start placing orders, and at Amazon or Barnes and Noble, it'll be a lot of places. So the reprints are now available. And what I will do is place that information. Let's see, I think I have the ISBN numbers, because the ISBN numbers are new. And think I can place that in the chat.
You can put it in the chat and then Claire will send it out to everyone.
Okay, great. I will pull that and I have to look for it, but.
No worries. Yeah, take your time.
Okay.
I'm wondering also, we've got people asking how they can learn about where you will be in the state. We're still in the pandemic. So I know that you've already started doing virtual presentations like this one.
Mhm.
I know that at the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities, we will keep track of and let people know where you will be presenting. Do you have a website or anywhere else where you're keeping track of your presentations?
Yes, I'm going to depend on, for right now, for LEH to do that. I have not updated my website, but there is some general information that you can, okay, I found the information. See if I can copy it. Yes. Did it come? Yes, it did. Okay, there it is. Red Beans and Ricely Yours, and that's the ISBN for that, and Second Line Home. So Red Beans and Ricely Yours are poems on our culture before Hurricane Katrina. Second Line Home, New Orleans poems, are my evacuation story, everybody's, and post-Katrina poems, the second book, and hopefully a new one. But back to your question. I will update my website, but it's going to take me a minute. So I'm going to depend on LEH perhaps to post.
No worries. We can absolutely do that at leh.org under the Poet Laureate section of our website. We will keep you updated. And the LEH newsletter is also another place where we let folks know what's going on. You can sign up for the LEH newsletter. It's a monthly newsletter at leh.org. And then we have one last question, Mona Lisa, and that is, what are you working on right now?
I am polishing my new collection of poems, a collection of essays on Black Creole culture, a children's book, and I really, my big project is to finish the biography of Bob Kaufman. So I'm hoping to finish that.
Just a couple of things.
Yeah.
You're keeping busy. I hope that you're able to find the time, the peace, and the inspiration to finish all of those projects in the pandemic. We have lots of comments from your students, past and present. They are all thrilled for you. Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities is very happy to welcome you as the Poet Laureate of the state of Louisiana. Thank you to John Warner Smith for that lovely introduction. And we look forward to hearing more from you, Mona Lisa, as you move through your 2-year tenure as Louisiana Poet Laureate.
Thank you so much, Erin. It's a pleasure, my honor and pleasure.
Good
Stay
night.
safe, y'all. Mask like
See
it's
you
Mardi
later.
Gras.